The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining this webinar promoted by the ESPRESSO Project. My name is Mario Conci, and I will guide you through this webinar. The topic of today's webinar is Standards and Reference Architecture Enabling a Smart City Urban Platform. And as you can read from the agenda, we will firstly introduce the ESPRESSO project, and then we will talk about the architecture and the standards that we have analyzed and developed during the first year of the project. After this introduction, we will leave the floor to other initiatives, other smart cities projects. The first one will be the REMOURBAN project. Then we will listen about the progressive project, and at the end we will listen about collaboration on standardization. I will leave the speakers present themselves afterwards. At the end, we will open the floor to questions. So by now you are all in listening mode, so you are all mute. If you want to ask questions, please use the question box, and we will collect your question and we will answer them at the end. The webinar is recorded, and it will be uploaded on the ESPRESSO website. Yeah, so it's time to start. So I'm leaving the floor to Martin Fabisch from the University of Kaiserslautern, and he will talk about the ESPRESSO project. So Martin, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Mario, for the introduction. My name is Martin Fabisch. I will present you a short introduction of the ESPRESSO project. The ESPRESSO project is founded by the European Commission. It's a Horizon 2020 project, and it will last for 2 years, the year 2016 and 2017. So you can see we are right in the middle of the second year of the project. The project includes 16 consortium members from 8 different countries. We are a mixed team from European standardization organizations, national standardization organizations, industries, and research facilities. We have 2 pilot cities. This is Rotterdam in the Netherlands and Tartu in Estland. And we are doing 4 use cases in these cities. What are the opportunities of standards in smart cities? Standards enable interaction between systems. They can be used to work as they can be used to connect physical and digital objects, and they will prevent vendor lock-in. Another opportunity of standards in smart cities is enabling scaling solutions for different city sizes. What is the ESPRESSO approach? ESPRESSO will develop a conceptual smart city information framework. We want to identify relevant open standards which are used in smart cities and smart city initiatives. We will identify technologies and different information models for smart cities. In addition to that, we will analyze potential gaps and overlaps among the standards which are used in smart cities and smart city initiatives. During the project, we will also provide guidelines how to use standards in a smart city, and we will develop roadmaps for the present and also for the future, which will be relevant standards in the future and what stakeholders are relevant for standards in the future. I will also show you the SMACStack network. This is a network we created during the first year of the project. This network will help you. It's open to everyone. You can register for it to get in contact with the different smart city standardization stakeholder. It can be used to exchange ideas of standards and so on. At the moment, there are 114 members in the SMACStack network, and it will grow in the future. Here I will show you some information how to get in contact with us. First, the ESPRESSO website, espresso-project.eu. Here we will provide you the main results of the project. For example, a strategic growth map for smart cities and all the deliverables we developed during the project. As you see there, we are also at Twitter. Here you can get very shortly news about, for example, the webinars and other topics related to smart cities and standards. And there's also a LinkedIn group for discussions related to smart cities, and also can be used to get in contact with the ESPRESSO project or with other members of the SMACStack community. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Martin. And now it's time to listen to the presentation by Bart de la Tower. Bart is the coordinator of the ESPRESSO project. So, Bart, the floor is yours.
Hi, Mario, and thank you for the introduction, and everyone welcome from me as well. My name is Bart de la Tower. I work for the OGC, and I'm also the ESPRESSO coordinator, and I'll be talking to you about the information framework today. Today I will also be Joachim Lunin from Dean, who had a voice problem. He couldn't speak to us, which is kind of essential if you do a webinar. So I'll be taking his role as well today. So I'm wearing two hats in the presentation. So I'll be talking to you about standards and reference architecture, which in a way creates or defines the urban platform. I'll be then finding that further on in the presentation. ESPRESSO and the European Innovation Partnership for Smart Cities and Communities urban platform collaborated very intensely to define this urban platform, and I will define the EIP-SCC for you in a minute. We just would like to share here with you that we believe that the urban platform is an enabler for smart city initiatives, and that they be based on open standards, avoiding vendor lock-in, increased competition moving forward. A definition I picked up last week when I was in Geneva, I very much liked as a definition for a smart city. There's so many definitions out there, I don't even know which one is correct. But I like this one, which were the 4 C's: connect, collect, comprehend, and create. And I hope at the end of the presentation I can come back to that. We heard from Martin about the ESPRESSO project, who we had on board, so I need to go into that. But important here on the slide is really that the urban platform is for IT developers, but also for decision makers, people that work in cities, procurement people in the cities, and why not even mayors, that they be able to understand this as well. Now, before I dive into ESPRESSO, let me quickly give you a 2-minute intro in the European Innovation Partnership for Smart Cities and Communities. They have 6 action clusters defined. The urban platform is part of the integrated infrastructure. You can read the others on top of the slide as well. And as part of the urban platform that they see as the enabler for smart cities moving forward, there are 3 independent, let's say, urban platform initiatives. One is in blue here, is on the demand side management, and green is the supply side, and that's supported by standard. What this is the demand side is the cities, the supply side is the industry, and then supported both on the standard side, so that cities get solutions that they want, and that the industry can build solutions that can that create a market that can be bought, and so that you get an economy based on this. But important that we see this supported by standards. There's a lot of smart city initiatives right now that are for sale and that are being bought, but that creates silos where data is difficult to exchange from one solution to another solution in the same smart city, and that creates silos. And those silos don't really enable data exchange, nor do they create interoperable data or data moving from one silo to another, so that they can create additional value from the various solutions. And that is really something that we would like to move and push forward. This gives you a little bit of context. Now, there's an additional slide I'd like to show here from the demand side, and is that they did a survey in 2 years ago, but I think still very relevant. And you can read the key findings here, that cities appear to be sitting on the fence to act on the urban platform. There is poor knowledge on the landscape, and they lack the confidence and capacity within the cities. As I indicated earlier, cities struggles to get the silos to work, and that's not really effective. And then the third one, that the focus of the urban platforms is on place-related services, which isn't really a surprise, seeing that cities are all about location where things are. So I just wanted to share that additional findings with you. And so we're here in the ESPRESSO project to help our constituency, which is the cities and the industry, specifically on how can we get them off the fence so that they can engage on the urban platform, and so that they can buy into a sustainable solution that is based on standards without having to go through vendor lock-in and creating the silos. So on the urban platform itself, this was a joint activity between ESPRESSO and the EIPSCC work stream 2, where we have created a capability map and an information system architecture that are based on, no surprise here, open standards. Needs to be market and vendor agnostic, not prescribing any technology. Needs to be modular and incrementally achievable, and what we call the layered approach. We based that work on existing work. We haven't started off from scratch. We looked at earlier work. So from the EIPSCC had some done earlier. The ITUT work group 20 had some major work done on that. The ISO IEC JTC1 working group 11, that was recently renamed, I can't remember what that name was, also had work done on information architecture, as well as within the OGC and ETSI. So what we did is we put that together and created a single output from that. One of the outputs is what we call the capability map. Don't worry, you don't need to memorize all the items here on the screen. But what this is very similar to, I'm going to make an analogy with a cook. is when he's in his restaurant, he needs to make the menu for the evening. So what he does is, today I'm going to cook you this. So he goes to the market and he buys the ingredients for the meal in the evening. This is very similar here. So when a city says, okay, I'm going to have this solution or in my smart city, then they will pick items from the capability map. And with that, they will create that solution. Important is, of course, as mentioned earlier, is the use of standards in this capability map. So each one of these yellow boxes has standards associated to them. And now I'm focusing more on the use of standards here. This was an effort, so mapping the standards onto the capability map was a work done with work stream 1 out of the EIPSCC. Work stream 2 was responsible for creating the capability map. Work stream 1 was responsible for mapping the standards onto that capability map. We identified over 400 standards to plot on that capability map. You can download these from the ESPRESSO website. I'll come to that later. That was a big exercise. And we noticed that some of these capability boxes were very fine-grained, some were more coarse-grained, some had a lot of standards associated to them, some others did not have the standards associated to them. So we were able to see where some of the overlap and gaps were in the offering of standards. So whilst we were doing this, here's some of the outcomes when we were identifying the standards that were out there, is that there were a large number of activities, and there was this perceived reluctance to divide and conquer. A lot of technologies are interwoven, make it difficult to identify every activity or standardization project. There's so many out there. We talked about silos. There is a need to break down these silos, but it's much harder than we expected. And we even see that SDOs actually themselves are in a silo structure, and we need to tear that down, and we are tearing that down. That the current activities are very much ICT related. Pretty much like this presentation is ICT related, but within the ESPRESSO project, we also look at the non-ICT standards and activities that are out there to create the smart city. Data generation flow and ownership of the data is key, so that the data doesn't reside with the one that offers the solution, but that the data is related to the city. Now, having that municipal data does create sensitive issues, and that is IT security, but also privacy. When I talk to cities, 33% of our time we spend on privacy, and that is they have data sets that are obfuscated or that do not contain personal information, but they're very scared that if you combine anonymized data sets, that you can deduct information that is related to an individual or to a small group of individuals. So that is something that that we have identified that we cannot really solve, but that we've identified as something that needs to be looked at. An harmonization effort between the SDOs is highly recommended. And so we're getting the European SDOs together in Brussels on June 29 to look at how we can standardize the output from ESPRESSO and the EIPSCC, the combined output, moving forward. Dean has already done so, but now that needs to be done in the other SDOs as well. Some other outcome here is, don't forget, smart city initiatives are there to help the citizens. Let's absolutely not forget about that. Within CEN itself, in the technical committees, there's 314 TCs that have one way or another a link to smart cities, but we are able to narrow that down to 102. And again here, if we can combine the roadmaps of the various initiatives. We do see a tendency towards internet of things, the cybersecurity, privacy, as mentioned earlier, but also resilience. And then also an activity in the standards activities that we do in ESPRESSO is how can we fast track some of these standards procedures, but also how can we give access to that standards track to the cities. They have the requirements, but they also run into the issues when you use standards, so that we can give them an entry point into the standards procedures. And we think that is really important, and we're working towards that. So I said you can download the outcomes from the ESPRESSO project. I have here an image of the website. Look at ESPRESSO content deliverables, and that is where you can find the deliverables. You can download them there and read them at your ease. So we talked about the capability map. This is another way of looking at it. So what we call information architecture, or sometimes nicknamed the hamburger slide, because you can see the various horizontal layers that make up this hamburger, starting from the devices all the way up to the consumers. On the vertical, you can see the technology services that support this, and so security and privacy are important moving forward into this one. Now, again, this is as a novice, one of the remarks that we get from our reviewers was that this was still too much engineering focused. So what we did is took some of the trends that we saw in the meetings that we actually went to, and here we went for what is called the 3-zone approach. And so you have the device zone, you have the data zone, and you have the application zone. By reducing it to these 3 layers makes it actually much easier to talk to both technicians all the way up to mayors. Everyone can understand this. So there's from the device zone, that's where the IoT sits, that's where the sensing devices sit. And they all send their information to the data zone. Sometimes, you know, I hear the word data lake. I think that's the word in vogue right now. The data lake is not a centralized system that you could see here in green, but it is a distributed data zone. And then on top you have the access services. This is where you combine the various data sources and create new services. This is important, that the urban platform enables the combination of data coming from various sensors and created additional product out of this. This in contrary to the silo approach, where this is not allowed or cannot be done because they don't use standards. So it's important here that the access services or the applications on the top, they can pick data from the data lake without actually having to know where that data comes from on the IoT side. So the three-layer approach. Whilst we were seeking interoperability, remember the 400 standards that we have identified. You can see the squiggly lines here between the various zones. What we didn't notice, however, that we could identify what we call pivotal points of interoperability. And these are standards that we can agree on without too much discussion. So if you look at from the devices, or from the device zone to the data zone, you have LoRa, you have IP, you have 6LoWPAN, you have Bluetooth, Zigbee, are standards that are used to transmit that data into the data lake. And then up from the data lake to the application zone, we have IP that we all know. We have the RESTful services. We have JSON, XML, HTTP, MQTT, CDGML, you name it, a variety of standards that are out there that prevail and that we can all agree on without too much hassle. This is important. The pivotal points of interoperability. Another approach is called the MMIs, and that is the minimum level for interoperability. And again, similar approach where you identify the minimum standards that you can use to achieve interoperability. Marty Burns from NIST, when I was in Geneva, said, you know, too little standards, you know, will not achieve interoperability. Too many standards will stop innovation. So we have to find that sweet spot in between, and we think we can achieve that through the pivotal points of interoperability as a starting point. This for us will be a major outcome from ESPRESSO, and actually we are writing a PPI or an MMI white paper. We have that in draft version, and we are looking for your input. So if you want to contribute, please send me an email or reach out to me via LinkedIn or others. This PPI white paper is supported by a lot of the lighthouse initiatives in Europe, but also is supported out of NIST in the United States. So we really have a cross-Atlantic activity here. The PPI white paper is unbranded, but it has a clear indication of the people that contributed and the organizations and projects that contributed to it. We wanted to have it unbranded to maximize the use and reuse afterwards, but clearly indicated where this comes from. Marty Burns from NIST, Martin Brinskov from OASC, and Omar from Nokia and the ITU. And there's many more that contribute, but just I name here some of the key people that contribute. So if you feel like, hey, I'd like to weigh in on this one, reach out to me. We want to have this ready mid-August. We have an initial draft right now, so I'm going to do the editing over the summer so that we can send this out for review mid-August, so that we have something to give to the world somewhere in mid-September. So the PPI white paper. I'd like to end here with some interesting ideas. What we see is the use of 3D city models for disaster management, for what else do I see here? Business development, navigation, architecture, urban planning, facility management, you name them, that cities move towards. There's a lot of them. So Berlin was actually one of the first that I know that went all out on this one, and they really reap the benefits from it. So and then a last one that I wanted to say before I say thank you was on semantic interoperability was identified as key moving forward for smart cities. So the semantic web technologies that we're looking into, that we have some output on as well. So with that, I thank you for listening. Please come again. I was myself today as the ESPRESSO coordinator, but I was also Joachim Lonin on the standard side. So with this, I turn it back over to Mario, and I hope we can answer some questions at the end of the presentations. Thank you.
Thank you, Bart. And okay, so now is the time for listening to the other smart city projects, and the first one is the REMOURBAN project. So I will leave the floor to Maria Luisa. Please, Maria.
Okay, thank you very much, Mario, for your introduction. First of all, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you very much. So yes, my name is Maria Luisa Mirantes. I'm working in Seridia, which is one of the partners taking part in the REMOURBAN project. This is another 2020 Horizon project, and more than 20 partners from all over Europe are taking part. Then first of all, some context on REMOURBAN. REMOURBAN is focused on the development and validation in 3 lighthouse cities to promote, to create a regeneration model, which is carrying out some interventions within the ambits of energy, districts and buildings, urban mobility and ICT. In order to accelerate the deployment of innovative technologies and solutions to achieve some objectives, which is, for example, to improve the sustainability of urban transport, reduce gas emissions, energy savings, and things like this. So we are developing a sustainable urban regeneration model. In a next step, we will be validating this urban regeneration model by means of these large scale interventions undertaken in these 3 lighthouse cities, Valladolid, Nottingham, and Tepe-Basi. Valladolid in Spain, Nottingham in the UK, and Tepe-Basi in Turkey. Some of our main objectives is guaranteeing the replicability of this model at European level, generate exploitation and market deployment strategies to support the exploitable results or the outcomes of REMOURBAN project as commercial exploitation products, let's say, if you will. And promoting citizen engagement and disseminating the benefits of the project in a wide variety of audiences, let's say citizens, public bodies, municipalities, and so on. So within this context, this is the general architecture. The ICT general architecture we have developed within REMOURBAN project. We have here the general scheme where you can see more or less the same layers explained before regarding ESPRESSO project, because we have this first layer at the bottom, which is the local ICT layer. This could be the data layer, and this could be the applications or external services layer. So first of all, we are carrying out some interventions within district and building energy ambit, urban mobility, and so on in the 3 cities, in the 3 lighthouse cities. Then in each of the cities, we are having different metering devices and other data sources to, in the end, collect and keep track of more than 400, 500 variables in each of the cities. These variables that will be stored or gathered in local ICT platforms, one local ICT platform in each of the 3 cities. In the end, these local platforms will communicate with which we are calling the global ICT platform, the REMOURBAN platform, to exchange these monitored variables, these variables stored at local level. They will be shared and updated within the global ICT platform. The communication, as we will see later on, will be achieved through a REST API service. And then the global ICT platform is acting as the agent to centralize and keep track of the variables for the whole project. In the end, this data could be shared and will be shared, will be exchanged with for external services, value-added services, let's say, oriented to citizens, municipalities, and so on. It's important to mention that these variables stored within the platform will enable the composition, the calculation of some indicators, the project indicators that in the end will enable us to assess and to calculate, to assess the success of the project in terms of sustainability, smartness, and things like this. So in the end, we have a global integrated structure, which is scalable, which uses standard technologies, which enable the development and deployment of value-added services, which allows us to monitor all variables within the project, to quantify in an objective ways project results, and that enables to create a replicable model. Sorry. Okay, so based on this platform, in this global ICT platform, we will have here in the left-hand side the structure of the different local ICT platforms integrating and communicating with the global ICT platform through a REST API service, with exception of Valladolid local ICT platform, because the local ICT platform in the case of Valladolid City and the global ICT platform is the same. We are developing two different instances for security reasons to isolate data from the local level and from the global level. They will be communicating through the exchange of CSV files that will contain the variables coming from the different metering devices and other data sources. But local ICT platforms of Tepebasi, Nottingham, and others could communicate with the global ICT platform through a standard REST API service, and thus enabling and enabling and facilitating a scalable model where other local platforms from other cities or services could integrate within this model in a scalable way. And here in the right-hand side, you can see, well, maybe it's not possible to see the details, but it doesn't matter. The objective of this diagram is to show that the cities, the administrative structure of any city is translated within the internal data model of the global ICT platform in a flexible and modular system of internal entities based on groupings, locations, devices that could reproduce the administrative structure of any city. And then finally, we can define and relate all variables that are being monitored within the project to one of these entities, which in the end is one of the levels of the city. Let's say a building, a district heating, a charging point in the case of urban mobility, and so on. This provides us with a replicable model, which is one of the main pillars of REMOURBAN project. And so in the end, the global ICT platform is a way to quantify and assess the results of the project, and this way is the most important driver for decision making. In the bottom level, we have the interventions carried out within the energy, mobility, and so on within the different ambits of the project. We are going to monitor. We are going to some metering devices in the cities to gather, monitor, and store all these variables, these local variables in the local ICT platform, but in the end, they will be shared with the global ICT platform that will centralize and monitor all projects variables, enabling the calculation of projects indicators that allow us to control the results of the project. And this way, this is a cycle for decision making where we can analyze the final results in order to achieve improvements, corrections, or whatever. So the global ICT platform acting as the main driver for projects decision making. And how to implement a platform like this one to achieve smartness, integration, scalability, and replicability. Well, we are using all standard technologies. This is just a summary, a brief overview, but for example, to highlight the communication between local ICT platforms and the global one through REST API service, other web services, CSV files interchanged through FTP server, and it's also capable to communicate with other data sources through specific protocols. But the most usual, the most important, let's say, in this moment is the use of REST API service over HTTPS with the exchange of JSON messages. So in the end, standard and well-known technologies that enables, as I mentioned before, replicability, scalability, and interoperability. And then some remarks on the functional roles the global ICT platform play at local level. The global ICT platform is acting for flexible incorporation and integration of local platforms through this standard REST API service. It provides centralization and control of all variables coming from the different local platforms, monitoring different variables for the project, and in the end, monitoring and reporting features to make it easier, the analysis, the visualization of stored data through these charts, dashboards, and similar features. And the roles played by the global ICT platform at global level, which are the key point of REMOURBAN project, because the global ICT platform is the data provider for value added services that can request all data stored within the global ICT platform to develop these external services and make the most of the information stored within the platform. Besides, the platform has web access through public URLs, publishing project results and other reports in some standardized formats, for example, CSV, Excel, and so on, that can be downloaded or consulted by external end users, public bodies, or whatever, to know about the project's results, keeping privacy in terms that, as we've mentioned before, here the key point is to preserve privacy. But in the end, once we know the information we can publish from the project, from project results, we will be able to store and expose these projects to end users. And finally, the capability to monitor and to provide with the dashboard, charts, and reports, the capability for tracking and analysis purposes, the capability to expose and analyze all the measures, the variables, with the updated time series of these variables, daily updated, to keep track of all this information. Just to end, this is a case of use just to show how any external service which is authenticated within the platform could request information of every single piece of data stored within the platform. Regarding static data, for example, information about the city structure, information about the different entities within the platform, I mean district, buildings, dwellings, charging points, e-vehicles, and whatever. And besides, they will be possible to request as well dynamic information regarding the variables and the time series of these variables stored within the platform. So making the most of this information to create value-added services for external use. So more or less, this is it from my side. Thank you very much for listening, and I will be here to attend any questioning at the end of the webinar.
Thank Thank you, Maria. And yeah, in this regard, I just would like to remind the participants that if anyone has any questions, feel free to use the question box and write your questions. We will collect them and we will try to answer at the end if we will have still time, or if not, we will send you an email with the answer. So now is the time of Alexandra Engelt from DIN. She will tell us about the progressive project.
Okay, do you see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Perfect. But I'm not able to move this out now. Okay. Okay, hello. My name is Alexandra Engelt from DIN, German Institute for Standardization. My main field of work is implementation of standardization activities within national or European research projects, and the transfer of innovative solution and project results into standardization and standards. Progressive is funded by the European Union by under the Horizon 2020 framework program, and we started in October 2016, and we will end after 24 months in September 2018. So we are, yeah, more or less in the beginning of the project. Our consortium consists of 10 partners from 6 EU member states. And with this project, it's not a real smart city project, but it has smart city links. With this project, we will help to change the way we as a community think about standards in relation to the needs of older people. And we want to change standardization processes around information and communication technologies for active and healthy aging. So our main objective in the project is to develop a framework where the contribution of standards and standardization processes for ICT can be maximized for active and healthy aging. So what are our planned outcomes? First of all, we identified and analyzed a range of standards with impact to older people. And we checked if how older people are involved in standardization processes, or if standards reflect an understanding of older people's needs. And with this relevant standards, we develop a database so everyone can check and get information about the standards with relevance for the area of ICT and active and healthy aging. Then we will develop guidelines and reports to raise awareness for the better involvement of older people interest in standardization processes. And you see on the screen, we have 5 different guidelines and reports. Standards and good practice around ICT, interoperability profiles, guidelines for age-friendly communities, guidelines for the co-production of standards. And here is the link with ESPRESSO, guidelines for standards around ICT for active and healthy aging for smart homes that are age-friendly. So here we have an interaction with ESPRESSO, and DIN is also partner in the ESPRESSO project. Yeah, we can check and yeah, develop in the same direction. What we do also is we organize events to launch the guidelines, and we also organize a project standardization forum to inform all relevant stakeholders about the project results. So who is the Progressive Consortium? We have 2 universities on board. De Montfort University from Leicester is a project leader. We have 4 associations with work priorities in the field of active and healthy aging, and we have 4 standardization organizations on board to maximize the output in the standardization issues. I think we will have first results in the middle of 2017 or the end of 2017, and you can find more information or detailed information about this project on our website, progressivestandards.org, and you also see my contact. If you have question, feel free to contact me, or to contact also the other partners. You find the other contacts on the Progressive website. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alexandra, for this overview of the Progressive project. And now it's the time of Cedric and Una. They have to leave sharp on at 11, so I will give soon the word to them. And if they disappear at a certain time, we know that they had to leave. So Cedric, Una, the floor is yours, please.
Yes, I am Cedric Schroeter, and I am working Tomorrow International, based in Geneva. And Unakim is working for Device Gateway. We're working in close cooperation on different European projects about smart cities. One of your main activities is standardization, and we have several collaborations on standardization, and I will present you this collaboration. We have several finished projects. For example, we have the IoT Lab, which is a European project about crowdsourcing and crowdsensing. We're using an application for smartphone to collect information on sensor installed inside the smartphones, and also to do some surveys with the users. We have also Omnet, which is a European project about smart buildings. We have IoT6, which is more focused on IPv6 and co-op. And finally, ERIT, about audio monitoring for IoT, notably. Then we have a list of different projects, ongoing European projects. Synchronicity, which is a large-scale pilot on IoT for smart cities, with 2 secondary projects, Create IoT, about coordination of the pilots on IoT, U4IoT to secure the privacy of the end user in the frame of IoT large-scale pilots. We have Privacy Flag, which is a project about privacy. We have different tools to check the privacy on smartphone, on website, and IoT deployment. Then we have Anastasia, an European project about IoT cybersecurity. And we have also 2 5G projects, one with Japan with 5G Pagoda, and another one which is exciting, which is a collaboration project between Europe and China. And we have also several infrastructure linked to the project, like Interop used for testing IoT protocols, and we have IoT Lab, a testbed as a service with the crowdsourcing tools, and finally Fight for Fire Plus, which is the European Testbed Federation. We have a direct cooperation with ETSI. We have a creation of ETSI Industry Specification Group, which is made in since 3 years. The goal of IP6 ESG is to define the best practices on IPv6, notably for critical infrastructure used in the internet. The focus is on IoT, cloud computing, SDN, MFV, and 5G. The goal is to use IPv6 on all these topics. We have also made a contribution to the Global Standardization book 3 years ago. The goal is to ensure that IPv6 is the preferred communication protocol on the internet. We have also do some work with IETF during the IoT6 project. We have several draft and standardization. For example, we have made a submission to the IETF about mapping on IPv6 for non-IP devices. We have also draft a document about authentication and authorization in CoAP. We have also taken part in standardization of 6TiSCH during the project. 6TiSCH is actually well developed and offers several features which are particularly interesting for IoT. We have also interaction with ITU because Monde International is a member of the International Telecommunication Union based in Geneva. Sebastian Ziegler, which is the president of Monde International, is the rapporteur for the emerging technology of Internet of Things. And we are currently working both on international and device gateway to the standardization in the ITU-T SEG 20, which is particularly interesting, and we have several contributions. In the frame of IoT6 projects, we have collaborated with IPSO Alliance, notably on global IPv6 and OMA lightweight M2M. IPSO Alliance has developed a pack named IoT Starter Pack version 1.0 about IoT, which can be used in the frame of smart buildings and smart cities deployment. We have already participated in different meetings from EEE Construct. We have different subcommittees. We have a first subcommittee about IoT. The goal is to facilitate the global definition of IoT architecture. Also to take into account the issues related to privacy and security, which are particularly important actually in Europe. On the same level, we have developed several investigations about different technology scenarios and research the impacts related to these scenarios on the internet protocols. The goal is to harmonize the communication through IPv6. Sebastian Ziegler is the chair of this IoT subcommittee. We have also participated in 2 other subcommittees, 5G and SDN MFV. Both subcommittees are particularly important because 5G and SDN NFV are two technologies in a phase of development, and we should take into account these developments. We have also standardized some technologies in the frame of OASIS, notably in the frame of IoT 6. We have put in reality some papers about IoT protocol bindings for smart buildings, notably with REST bindings for JSON and XC in the frame of OBIX. OBIX is a protocol used in smart buildings to collect and describe data coming from sensors and actuators. Of course, we can extend this standardization and the data used for smart cities, because there is no great differences between smart building sensor and smart city sensor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Cedric, for your presentation. So we have finished our time. I don't know if there are very quick questions for our panelists, for our speakers. Feel free to write them in the question box. And yeah, we will quickly answer them. I have a question here from Giorgio Farina, and it is a question for this disappeared just right now. That was a question for both Maria and Alexandra. And the question was quite general, and it was about the framework of ESPRESSO and how this framework could help their project. So the REMOURBAN project for Maria and the Progressive project for Alexandra. So what could be the benefit of adopting the ESPRESSO project? I don't know if you have a very quick answer. So if you, Maria or Alexandra, would like to answer right now. If not, we can reply via email to Giorgio.
I can answer quickly.
Okay.
It is not really clear now how this ESPRESSO framework can be integrated in a progressive framework, but because I did not check it at this moment in detail, so I actually can't answer this question right now, but I can answer this question hopefully in a few months.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
From my side, I sent an answer, a public answer. I don't know if it's possible to see it on your screens, but summarizing where I think that all this kind of projects, ESPRESSO in particular, could be quite useful at the end of the project, I mean REMOURBAN project, to have some knowledge sharing in terms of standards and protocols to improve interoperability. I think this is key to improve interoperability among other platforms from other European projects for data exchanging. I think the key point here is to be able to share data, to create information from this shared data, and in turn, this information could be used by other external services. So all this is about interoperability among different platforms, different projects through standards and open protocols to make the most of data sharing to transform this data into information.
Thank you, Maria. And there is also another question by Isteye. I don't know if it's the right pronunciation. Asking how we can keep in touch. So I'm going to answer to this question directly. She suggests to use the EIP SEC structure, and but we can suggest our own community. If you have not registered yet, you are very welcome to register to the Smart Stack community. It is the stakeholder network built by the ESPRESSO project. You can find the link to register to the community on our website, and there you can of course interact and write messages and emails to me or to the others, to the other members of the network. I don't know if there are any other question. I don't see any other question in the box. So thank you very much to everyone for joining this webinar. This was the last webinar before the summer break. We haven't scheduled yet the next one, that will be probably at the end of August, beginning of September. But feel free to send us any suggestion if you would like to listen more about the ESPRESSO outcomes, or if you want to present or share your project's results. So thank you everyone for joining, and have a nice day.